everyone. We are part of the PIC team that covered nutrition, and I'm Katrine, and I volunteered at the Oregon Food Bank for the Fresh Alliance food packing activity. And upon getting there, I was pretty surprised by how removed the facility was from the community that it eventually serves. We didn't actually meet any people taking part in the nutrition program. We only interacted with other volunteers, and we just packaged food that had been recently shipped in from stores.
Hey everyone, my name is Hayden. I also volunteered with Katrina at the Oregon Food Bank doing Fresh Alliance repacking project. One of the main things that surprised me was the population of people who came and volunteered with us. Alongside Katrina and I, there was another person who was about our age, and then there was a group of maybe 10 to 12 elderly people who were also helping us repack. And while we were there, there was a group of young kids who were coming into, I think they were on like a field trip or something like that. They were coming into like big boxes and like going through bulk food and doing like different like little projects to help like the big like repacking projects and other things that were going on in the facility. And one of the more important pieces I thought was that there was a big variety of food that was there. We got stuff from grocers all over the town, and most of what we were doing was looking for quality and like checking dates and stuff. And I was really impressed with the selection that Oregon Food Bank had for all of the people that they serve.
Hi guys, I'm Molly, and I volunteered at Potluck in the Park. One of the biggest surprises I had was the turnout of volunteers and how cohesive the environment was. It's a volunteer-driven organization with no paid staff, so I was really surprised at how well it was organized and put together. Another big thing that surprised me was while talking with one of the other volunteers, he mentioned how most of the food upon receiving it had to be thrown out because it was already inedible, and that made the big question arise what their inspection policy is and how long the food goes before they actually serve it after receiving it. They get food from local restaurants, grocers, wholesalers, and other institutions, so I just wanted to know how long the turnout is before.
So I volunteered at Potluck in the Park, and the amount of kids that I served when I was there was much harder to deal with than I thought it was going to be. I knew that there was going to be kids there, and so it was no surprise, but just the amount of kids, it was much more than I thought there was going to be. There was probably at least 80 families. A lot of those kids had been sitting out in the sun. You could see that, some of them were just sunburnt and hot and sweaty. A lot of the little kids were in strollers, passed out. And it was definitely hard to hand their parents plate after plate, for some of the families that needed to be there and had 5, 6 kids. The other thing is just the sheer size of Potluck in the Park. The day that I volunteered, I think we served somewhere around about 500 people, maybe more, and most of them needed the meal. Very few people looked like they didn't need the meal, and to just see that, to notice how many hot dogs there are, and how many casseroles you've handed out to people, and just the sheer size of it. And then afterwards, after everybody had been served and the whole thing was kind of winding down, looking over and seeing the amount of dirty dishes and trays and trash and stuff everywhere was also surprising. Not because I'm saying that it created such a mess, but just because after it's all over and you're looking at the trash cans full of food and stuff, you start to realize like the sheer size of potluck in the park, and then you realize that it's really not doing anything. It's not changing these people's lives. It's just helping them with a meal that they need. So I mean that was the biggest surprise for me was how big it was, and how this is a problem that isn't going away, and potluck in the park is probably only going to get bigger.
Hi everyone, my name is Alex. I volunteer with Potluck at the Park along with Molly and Matt. While I was there, I was really surprised with seeing how many people actually come to the event and how many people are in need of food in the area. As Matt already said, I agree that Potluck in the Park is a good program for people that need food, but it doesn't really address the need behind it or how to help those families or the individual that comes there. While I was there, I volunteered helping out with the special needs line, and that line was focused on helping the people that have a cognitive disorder or any other disability, or they just needed help because they were with children and they couldn't get their food without having to stop all the time and grabbing their children and moving through the line. And while I was there, I talked to a teacher, and the teacher was focused on, well, she was actually a special ed teacher, and we had a discussion about what do we do for the students that get out of the system, they age out. So students with disabilities have services until they're 21, and I was mainly focused on transition programs, which helping the student figure out what's next, how to support themselves and get a job. Sometimes that's through supplemental income through the federal government, which they provide. I believe it's about like $800 a month, and while you're receiving that, you're not allowed to work. So I was wondering, how do these individuals with disabilities or special needs get that assistance apart from events like this that just provide food? Is there programs that assist these people, or is there ways we can better help support these individuals with disabilities that can't help themselves?